The man thought he was proposing to his girlfriend on Steve Harvey's show. He had no idea she was about to reveal a secret that would change everything. What happened next became the most shocking plot twist in daytime television history. It was June 2019, and Steve Harvey was filming one of his favorite types of episodes, surprise proposals. There was something magical about helping couples take the next step in their relationships, and Steve loved being part of those life-changing moments. The setup seemed perfect. 28-year-old Michael Rodriguez from Phoenix had contacted the show's producers 3 months earlier with a plan to propose to his girlfriend of 2 years, Jessica Chen. Michael had explained that Jessica was a huge Steve Harvey fan who watched the show religiously every day while she worked from home as a graphic designer. Michael's proposal plan was elaborate but romantic. He told the producers that Jessica thought she was coming to the show to participate in a segment about couples who balance work and relationships. She had no idea that Michael had orchestrated the entire thing, complete with her parents flying in from California and his family driving up from Tucson. The ring Michael had chosen was stunning, a vintage-style diamond engagement ring that had belonged to his grandmother. He'd been saving for it for over a year, working double shifts at the automotive repair shop where he was a manager. What made this proposal especially meaningful to Steve's producers was the love story behind it. Michael and Jessica had met during a really difficult time in both their lives. Jessica had just ended a toxic relationship and was focusing on building her freelance design business. Michael was recovering from a serious car accident that had left him with chronic back pain and uncertainty about his future. They'd met at a physical therapy clinic where Jessica was volunteering as an art therapy assistant, and Michael was working to regain his mobility. Their relationship had been built on helping each other heal, supporting each other's dreams, and finding joy in small moments together. Michael had told the producers that Jessica was the kind of person who believed in fairy tale endings, who still got emotional watching proposal videos online, and who had once mentioned that being proposed to on TV would be like something out of a movie. Everything was set up perfectly. Jessica's best friend had convinced her to dress up nicely for the taping, telling her the producers wanted the couples to look their best for the cameras. Michael was hidden backstage with both sets of parents, rehearsing what he would say when Steve called him out. The show started normally. Steve was interviewing 3 couples about maintaining romance while building careers. Jessica was one of the guests, sitting on the couch and talking confidently about how she and Michael supported each other's professional goals. "Jessica," Steve said, "tell me about Michael. How does he support your design business?" Jessica's face lit up. "Michael is incredible, Steve. When I have late nights working on projects, he brings me dinner and just sits with me, even when I'm stressed and not great company. He's always telling potential clients about my work. He believes in me even when I don't believe in myself." "That sounds like a keeper," Steve said with his characteristic grin. "How long have you two been together?" 2 years next month, Jessica said. "It feels like we've been together much longer, but in the best way, like we just fit." Steve nodded, setting up for the surprise. "Jessica, what would you say if I told you that relationships like yours are rare and that when you find someone who truly supports your dreams, you should hold on to them forever?" "I'd say that's absolutely true," Jessica replied. "Michael and I talk about the future all the time. We want the same things: a family, a house with a garden where I can have an art studio, kids who know they're loved unconditionally." "Speaking of the future," Steve said, standing up, "I think there's someone backstage who wants to talk to you about that." Jessica looked confused. "Someone backstage?" "Jessica," Steve said, "I need to tell you something. This whole segment was set up. Your boyfriend Michael contacted us because he has something very important to ask you." Jessica's hands flew to her mouth. "Oh my God, are you serious?" "Michael, come on out here, son." Michael walked out from backstage, looking nervous but excited, carrying the ring box behind his back. The audience erupted in cheers as Jessica started crying happy tears. "Michael." Jessica stood up and ran toward him. "I can't believe you did this." Michael was beaming as he reached the center of the stage with Jessica. He took her hands and looked into her eyes. "Jessica, these past 2 years have been the best of my life. You've made me a better man, and I can't imagine my future without you in it." The audience was awing and clapping. Steve was smiling widely, enjoying the moment he'd helped create. Michael got down on one knee and pulled out the ring box. "Jessica Chen, will you marry me?" The entire studio held its breath, waiting for the obvious yes that would complete this perfect proposal moment. But instead of immediately saying yes, Jessica's expression changed. The joy on her face was replaced by something complicated, a mixture of love, excitement, and something that looked almost like panic. "Michael," Jessica said, her voice shaking, "before I answer that question, I need to tell you something." Michael looked up at her from his position on one knee, suddenly uncertain. "What is it?" Steve's smile faded slightly. In all his years of hosting surprise proposals, he'd never seen this kind of reaction. Jessica looked out at the audience, then at Steve, then back at Michael. "Michael, I love you so much. You are the most wonderful man I've ever known, and I want to spend my life with you." "But," Michael asked, clearly sensing there was more. Jessica took a deep breath. "But there's something I've been trying to figure out how to tell you for the past 3 weeks." The studio was dead silent. Steve didn't know whether to step in or let this play out. "Jessica, what is it?" Michael asked gently, still on one knee. "Michael," Jessica said, tears streaming down her face now. "I'm pregnant." The audience gasped audibly. Michael's eyes widened in shock. "You're what?" "I'm 8 weeks pregnant. I found out 3 weeks ago, and I've been terrified to tell you because I know we haven't talked about having kids this soon, and I didn't want you to think I was trying to trap you or rush things." Michael stared at her for a moment that felt like an eternity. Then, slowly, a smile spread across his face. "You're pregnant?" he said, standing up. "Yes," Jessica whispered. "Are you angry?" Instead of answering with words, Michael swept Jessica into his arms and spun her around. "Angry," he said, laughing. "Jessica, this is the best news I've ever gotten in my life." The audience erupted in cheers. Steve was wiping tears from his eyes. "So," Michael said, getting back down on one knee, "let me ask you again. Jessica Chen, mother of my future child, love of my life, will you marry me?" "Yes," Jessica practically shouted. "Yes, yes, yes." Michael slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her as the audience gave them a standing ovation. Steve walked over to the newly engaged couple, shaking his head in amazement. "In 15 years of hosting this show," Steve said, "I have never seen a proposal with a plot twist like that. Y'all just went from engaged to engaged and expecting in about 30 seconds. Jessica and Michael were both laughing and crying. "Steve," Jessica said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hijack Michael's proposal." "Hijack it?" Steve said. "Honey, you made it better. Michael, how are you feeling right now?" "Like the luckiest man alive," Michael said, his arm around Jessica. "I came here to ask her to be my wife, and I'm leaving knowing I'm going to be a husband and a father." "And Jessica, why were you so scared to tell him?" Jessica wiped her eyes. "Because everything happened so fast in my life. 2 years ago, I was in a terrible relationship, had no money, was struggling to build my business. Then I met Michael, and everything got so much better. I was afraid that an unplanned pregnancy might scare him away or make him feel pressured." "Michael," Steve said, "did it scare you?" "Not for a second," Michael said firmly. "The only thing that scared me was the thought that she might say no to my proposal." Steve turned to address the camera. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand what you just witnessed. This young woman was carrying what she thought was a burden, a secret that might ruin the most important moment of her relationship. But what she discovered is that the right person doesn't just love you in spite of surprises, they love you because of them." He looked back at Jessica and Michael. "Y'all didn't just get engaged today. You learned that you're true partners who can handle anything life throws at you." The couple's parents, who had been watching from backstage, came out to celebrate. Jessica's mother was crying happy tears as she hugged her daughter. "I knew you two were meant for each other," Jessica's mother said, "and now we're getting a wedding and a grandchild." Steve had one more surprise. "Now Jessica and Michael, because your proposal didn't go exactly as planned, but ended up being even better than planned, I want to give you something to help you start your new life together." He pulled out an envelope. "This is $25,000 toward your wedding and baby expenses, compliments of the Steve Harvey Show." Jessica burst into tears again. "Steve, we can't accept that." "Yes, you can," Steve said, "because what you two just showed us is that love isn't about perfect plans. It's about rolling with life's surprises and finding joy in the unexpected." 9 months later, Jessica and Michael returned to the Steve Harvey Show with their 3-month-old daughter, Emma Rose Rodriguez. They had gotten married in a beautiful ceremony 6 months after the proposal, with Jessica wearing a custom-designed dress that accommodated her growing belly. "Steve," Michael said during their return visit, "that day changed our entire lives, not just because we got engaged, But because Jessica learned she could trust me with anything, and I learned that the best surprises in life are the ones you never see coming. Jessica, holding baby Emma, nodded. I spent 3 weeks terrified that an unplanned pregnancy would ruin our relationship. Instead, it made us stronger because we learned we could handle anything together. Steve held baby Emma and looked at the camera. This little girl is proof that sometimes life's best blessings come disguised as problems. Her parents thought they were just getting engaged that day. They had no idea they were getting their whole future. The proposal episode became one of the most watched in the show's history, not just because of the surprise twist, but because it showed real love in action, messy, unexpected, and absolutely beautiful. Years later, when Emma was old enough to understand, her parents would show her the video of the day she was announced to the world, the day her father proposed to her mother, and the day their family truly began. If this incredible story of love, surprises, and perfect timing moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that life's best moments often come when we least expect them. Have you ever had a surprise that turned out to be a blessing in disguise? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for more amazing stories about love, family, and the beautiful chaos of life.